Angelique with my Angelique Crystal Reviews, your movie reviewer, and more. Let's talk about last night's season finale of The Walking Dead, Season 9, Episode 16, The Storm. Okay, so was it me, you guys, or I wasn't quite used to the slow pace of this episode. Normally in our season finale, we're on pins and needles. Like last week's episode probably should have been this week's episode, because even though we had this major snowstorm, it still wasn't that intense. It was just, I don't know. So this week's episode, I will try to make this quick. But this week's episode, you had Michonne, Daryl, Carol, Ezekiel, Jerry, and the whole Kingdom crew closing down the kingdom because the storm was coming and they did not have enough resources to make it through the storm. So they thought they would go ahead and travel to Hilltop. So you had, Carol and Ezekiel, ever since Henry's passing, they're having marital issues, which rightfully so, because when you lose a child, it either bonds the marriage or it can break the marriage, and that's just the reality of it. But in the first 10 minutes, Daryl and Michonne are walking, and then Daryl and Ezekiel see some walkers, and Carol's like, I got it. And Ezekiel's like, no, I'll go with Daryl. We'll work it out. So Ezekiel, in 2 seconds in my mind after I was just thinking, because Daryl and Carol are walking together. So in my mind, I was thinking, Ezekiel's pretty cool because he's securing himself to handle this relationship between Daryl and Carol, and that's great, and that's sort of like that bonding thing. That's like family. I'm like, Ezekiel's really secure in his marriage and in Carol, that he doesn't even have a problem with her having a relationship with Daryl. Well, 2 seconds after that, Ezekiel pulls Daryl to the side and says, yo man, we're having, we going through it right now, and I would appreciate if you could help a brother out and give us some space so we could work through these things. And in typical Daryl fashion, he didn't really say anything. He just went, he just kind of looked at Ezekiel and walked away. And he asked, is that what Carol wants? And he was like, we just trying to work things out. So there went my whole thing about Ezekiel being so secure. So anywho, so they all make their way, that whole group makes their way to Sanctuary. And, Michonne is having this conversation with Ezekiel that you didn't lose the kingdom. It's just that the kingdom didn't have enough resources. That's what we're all here to do. Alexandria, Hilltop, we're all here to help each other. And so don't go feeling like you lost something, because you didn't. You just gained another family, another group of family at Hilltop. So that was that one storyline. So pause on that. We go to Negan and Rosita, Sadiq, Gabriel, and Eugene. So basically, they're going over the fact that it's cold. We need to go, we need to stay together, stay holed up. And of course, I didn't even realize this because they didn't really show the people of Alexandria together. They were huddled up on the other side of this house. I don't know where it was, but it was in Alexandria. And Judith's there, and RJ is there. And so they're going through, talking or whatever. And so this whole quadruple relationship, and Negan makes a joke out of it, by the way, about, the doctor baby daddy. That's Sadiq's nickname. He's the doctor baby daddy in this whole relationship, because it's just very, very odd. So they're talking about, the storm is coming. They have what they need. But apparently the chimney is having issues, so they can't stay where they are. They have to go to Aaron's house. Even though it's going to be close quarters, it's the safest, best bet for them to do. So they have to walk from this particular house or area to Aaron's house. So in the midst of doing that, Daryl left dog with Judith. So of course, when storms come, all animals have their moments. So of course, as they're walking over to try to get to Aaron's, single file, they have to take Negan with them, because if not, Negan will die in that place and it's just not safe. So in the midst of that, dog gets loose. Judith runs after dog. Okay, Judith, that wasn't the brightest move. RJ knew to stay his behind in line. But anywho, so Judith decides to run after dog, and dog can take care of himself. We all know this, but never mind that. I guess Judith didn't understand that dog could take care of himself. So Judith runs after dog, and of course Negan flips out. Negan busts through the chase. He was like, "I'll go get her, Judith," and he's screaming for Judith. Child, Negan is out there with barely a blanket on. No cap. It's like the dead of winter, but Negan sure went after Judith, and he got Judith, and he brought her back. So I say that to say, whoever was supposed to be babysitting Judith should be fired from the show, because they did no such thing. Judith ran off. They didn't even try to go attempt to halfway attempt, "I'm going, Judith, I can't see you." No, none of that. None of that. Negan was the only one that ran after Judith and saved Judith. So yeah, that person who was supposed to babysit, fired. You're gone. So Ezekiel, the kingdom, Michonne, Daryl, Carol, everybody, they can't stay at Sanctuary. They don't have enough resources. They know that now they've got to go to Hilltop. But in order to get to Hilltop, you know where they gotta go. They gotta go past the Whisperers' little line in the sand that Alpha drew last week. So of course Carol said, we didn't agree to such thing. We've got to go past there. That's the only way we're gonna make it. So of course they're on pins and needles, thinking that they're gonna be attacked during the snowstorm and in the dark. Well, thank goodness none of that happened. They were able to get to Hilltop. Everybody was at Kingdom now merged with Hilltop. Then you have Alexandria, they're doing their thing over there, and then you had Eugene was able to get the radio working. So you see, I guess there's two radios. There's one at Hilltop, there's one at Alexandria. So somehow Ezekiel was talking to Judith and having a conversation, and Judith is so sweet. She's like a little peacemaker, and I love her for that. So her and Ezekiel were talking at the end. And then Michonne actually went to Negan and thanked him for saving Judith. And Negan was like, you've been through enough. It was the least I could do. You got a smart cookie there in Judith. It's something about those brown kids that Negan he got a soft spot for them. And when I tell you guys, he ran through that cold to get Judith and had no hat on. Then he gave Judith his semi-blanket coat so she could warm up. So he was out there just struggling. And then he got debris hit his leg, so his leg was cut. He was bleeding. But Negan saved Judith. And so Michonne gave her biggest thank yous. And I believe in season 10, Negan is going to be a part of Alexandria. He's now, even though he got jokes galore, he is now part of that family, whether they like it or not. So, Carol asked Daryl, what conversation did he have with Ezekiel? And he didn't really say, Daryl's not going to throw Ezekiel under the bus, although he could have. The way Ezekiel was stepping up, he could have thrown Ezekiel under the bus, but he didn't. But Carol ends up basically going to Alexandria while Ezekiel goes to Hilltop, and she she held on to the ring and she was about to give it back, and he was like, I'll always love you no matter what. So they're separated, I guess. I don't know if they're really divorced. I don't think they're divorced, so I'll just say they're separating right now. They're living separately. So that's what ended with them. And then lastly, finally, we get to Alpha, because I was trying to figure out what happened to Alpha and Beta and how the Whisperers survived that, because they so animalistic in their living conditions. How did they make it through that storm? So they made it through somehow, but you know, they were watching. So Alpha told Beta, you know, Beta was giving Alpha her props, saying how strong she was and that she made it through, and she was like, you know, I'm gonna need to be strong for the next chapter of this, basically. So there's a next chapter. So apparently they saw, I don't know if they saw them up close during the storm, Ezekiel and that whole crew, or if maybe they just left prints and they were able to see the prints. I don't know, but Alpha made it sound like the next season they're going to war. So in this ritual kind of thing, Beta takes a switch and starts hitting Alpha with this switch. And you guys, I thought about Denzel in Glory and how Denzel took that whip in Glory. He stood there, took that whip, and that one tear just came down Denzel Washington's eye on Glory. Well, Alpha did the same thing, you guys. She sat up there and took that switch. She even, she took it like it was nothing. It was nothing. And that's what they showed there. And then to summarize all of this on the radio that I guess Eugene was working on, somebody said, shh, shh, shh. Are you there? Can you hear us? Are you there? Now, it did sound like Maggie to me. It sounded like someone else, and I don't know who it is. I have no idea. Perhaps it's the Commonwealth. Perhaps it's Anne or Jadis. It didn't sound like Anne or Jadis. It didn't sound like Anne or Jadis, and it did sound like Maggie. It sounded like some other female voice. Now, I doubt that that radio signal goes as far as to reach Morgan and them in Fear the Walking Dead in that group. I don't think it's them. I think it's some other group. I think it's the Commonwealth. That's what I think. I don't think it was Oceanside either, because everybody knows people at Oceanside, so I don't think it's them either. So that's how it ended. So, as I predicted, I knew we were going to go into season 10 not knowing what was going to be happening. Not knowing. We kind of go into season 10 with, I really don't know. I have no clue. That was basically it. It wasn't as intense as last week's. It wasn't emotionally pulling as last week. The only thing I could say about this episode is I think Negan is in the fold now. I think he's a part of Alexandria, because he didn't go anywhere. He came right back with Judith, and then he was laid up in the hospital, and the doctor baby daddy, aka Sadiq, said everything was fine, so he could have limped out of there and left, but I don't think he's gonna leave. As long as Judith is there, I don't think he's going to leave Judith. So I think Negan this is his new family. I think he has great insight into the kingdom and what happened there, and how things can easily change from you being a leader to you now being a part of another group. So that was it. I wish I had more exciting things to say about the season finale, but I don't know when Maggie's coming back, if she's coming back. I know that Denai Guerrero is supposed to be leaving next season, so I don't know how that's going to work. I have no clue. Give me your thoughts. Give some feedback. what did you think about the season finale? What do you think is going to happen in season 10 with this whole radio thing, with the whole Alpha Whispers storyline? What do you think? Do you think they'll do another time jump? I hope not. Good gracious, no. I don't want another time jump, but I bet you anything we'll probably get another time jump next season. But let me know your thoughts. It's been great, you guys. I have enjoyed doing these vlogs on The Walking Dead. I will pick it back up in October when the new season comes. But I will be vlogging for Game of Thrones. If you're a Game of Thrones fan, come April 14th, I'll be vlogging that. And then after that, I believe Power comes on next. And I will be vlogging Power. I'm on the fence about vlogging Fear the Walking Dead. I'm still on the fence about that. If I have time, I will probably do that as well. But definitely Game of Thrones, definitely Power. I'm understanding this is the last season of Power, so I am definitely there for that. And so it's been great. I've enjoyed it. Catch me on myangeliquecrisel.com if you like to look at the other vlogs that I do or other blogs. Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.